When my first son was born, something came over me. I think it was just kind of divine intervention and maybe people that were placed in my life. I became very interested in food, what I was going to feed him as a baby. I thought I knew all these things, but it turns out, like everything else, it was another big lie. Pediatricians do not know anything about what to feed our children and should not be guided in doing so. So I became really passionate about food for our babies. So I went back to school to become a holistic nutritionist. And that's when all the light bulb moments went on. Cause I was like, oh my gosh, like being healthy is so easy. Like healing is so easy. It doesn't mean that it's an easy process, but the steps are simple. It can be a long, hard journey, but the steps are simple. And I was like, why don't we know about this? Why aren't we taught this in nursing school? Why don't we do these things? And then that's when I quickly realized that it's because they don't want us to heal. They don't want us to know these things. They don't want us to be sovereign and responsible over our bodies. They want us to be stuck in this sick care system. So the other ways are becoming your own expert over your health and your body. Are looking. It's simple. Like eating food that's touched by the sun. Does God recognize it as food? Making sure that you're surrounded by people that love you and support you, getting outside in nature, connecting with yourself. But faith is a huge aspect that is not talked about as well in the medical system. You're flesh and bones, but we know that we are energetic beings created by, a creator. Like I believe that we are divine beings, and that part is not recognized in healthcare.
Well, it reminds me of a story about you and I actually in the summertime when we were both marching with James Topp. And I think I recall on that day, you marched 42 kilometers with him on that day. I think I only did somewhere around like 13 or 14 kilometers and then I tapped out for whatever reason. But no, I remember you did the full day. And at the end of the day, I'm reaching for the Advil. And I think you left my vehicle because we were in my car eating my lunch. You left my vehicle, you went into the woods and you were hunting for, natural pharmaceuticals in the forest. I'm like, where did she go? Like, and there was bugs everywhere and you were in there foraging for nature's medicine. And, it seemed to work for you, but me at the moment, I'm like, I'm pretty satisfied with my Advil. But for you, it's, that's a way of life, I think, that you've chosen to go down.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to ask this question because this question is really a hybrid, I think, of what you're talking about and where the medical community is. And this maybe is something that bridges the two philosophies in a sense that, there's a spiritual component to this. And I want to actually ask you about the Florence Nightingale Pledge. And I took this off your website. And I note that it was specifically on your website. And I guess what I want to do is know, why is this on your website? The Florence Nightingale Pledge. And I recently heard about this from other nurses. And so why is this pledge important to you?
I think it just says it so beautifully. I think you have it written down there because I actually wish I memorized it and know it by heart, but I don't. But I think it'd be good if you read it first and then I could answer it.
Sure. To pass our lives in purity and practice our profession faithfully, agreeing to never take or administer any harmful drug, by committing to evaluate the standard of our profession, we must recognize that we are the first and last line of defense in our society for decency, integrity, and compassion. We have the first and last opportunity to do the honorable and dignified thing for people. Mm-hmm. And to me, I think that's really powerful. I mean,
I know I just got like full body chills again, just hearing those words and where we are now. Yeah.
But from my perspective, because I have many, many days and weeks and months in hospitals with one of my children. Mm-hmm. And, I read that really resonated with me because I can tell you from my experience with nurses, especially at a children's hospital, there is a bond that, from my perspective, develops between a parent and the nurse. that is looking after your sick child. And I would imagine to a certain extent that bond does build over time in, adults that are in hospital care for long periods of time. But I think, people have this perception, I hope, that you go into certain professions with a very virtuous lens, that you are going to go into that profession because you truly want to help people. And I know in some cases that's not the case. I mean, the pay, the benefits, the hours, the vacation time. I mean, I know those things are very attractive to certain trades, but I would imagine that the medical community, by and large, would attract people with a very virtuous cause or justification or reason, or even more importantly, a calling to go into that profession to help people. And I can tell you, at Sick Kids, where I spent a lot of time with nurses and doctors, those nurses, let's say, 1 in 20 that don't belong. It's literally like they're walking around with a big neon sign above their head saying, I don't belong here. You get those nurses that just, they don't belong. They stick out like a sore thumb. But I can tell you that for the vast majority of the nurses that deal with children or at Sick Kids Hospital, they're wonderful people. They're people that I will never forget for the rest of my life, and how they treated us as parents and how they treated my child. And so, my concern, like you said at the beginning, was about new people coming into the system. When you first started nursing versus where nursing is now, what do you think is the difference? Is there a difference with new nurses coming into the system now, just like I would say prior to COVID, versus nurses from the past? Is there a difference in justification? Is there a difference in reason why people go into nursing?
I think, I was getting kind of almost like teary thinking about everything you're describing, because I worked with, I started off in pediatrics was my training, and I spent the majority of my career, so 12 years, I was a nurse for 14 years, and 12 of that was spent in the neonatal intensive care unit. So working with babies from the most vulnerable, like 23 weeks and beyond. You're with families for over 100 days, and you become like their primary nurse, where every shift, that is who you're looking after. So you do bond with the parents. I've been in touch with, several, and it's, that is what I miss the most, because that was what nursing was the relationships, the caring, the being there, the supporting them through all the hard times, but also the exciting times. Because everyone used to say to me, like, NICU must be so hard. And I was like, it can be, but it's also so rewarding when you get to see those first moments.